The first time the elevator skipped the lobby, Emma thought it was a glitch. It was late past midnight when she left her friend's apartment on the 14th floor. The hallways were quiet, carpet smelling faintly of detergent and dust. She pressed the call button, listened to the low hum of the cables. The elevator arrived. Doors slid open with that smooth, too quiet sound. She stepped in, pressed L for lobby. The doors shut. The numbers began to count down, 14, 13, 12. At 2, the car slowed. She tightened her grip on her bag. It should go to 1, then L. It stopped. The display flickered. The letter B appeared instead. Basement. The lights dimmed. The doors opened. She wasn't looking into a parking garage. She was looking at a hallway, narrow, old, lit by buzzing fluorescent tubes. The floor was concrete, dark with stains she didn't want to identify. The air smelled like wet paper. No movement, no sound. Her finger hovered over the door close button. Before she pressed it, a shape moved at the far end of the hall. Tall, thin, standing perfectly still, but its head tilted as if listening. The doors began to shut. The figure took a single step forward. Emma slammed the door close button until the doors met. The elevator jolted upward, numbers flickering, B, 2, 3, before finally stopping at the lobby. The lobby was empty. The security desk light was on, but no one sat there. Through the glass front doors, the street outside looked wrong. The street lamp shadows were too long, stretching toward the building like fingers. Emma didn't go outside. She took the stairs up to her floor instead. Halfway up, she heard the elevator ding behind her, doors opening, and the slow sound of bare feet stepping onto tile. Emma didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bed with her shoes still on, listening for the soft ding that meant the elevator had opened somewhere on her floor again. The building had that old high-rise quiet at night. A layered hush made of plumbing, electricity, faint wind around corners. Every sound felt like it had a shadow. At 3:02 a.m., the hallway lights outside flickered once. Not a power dip, more like someone had walked past each fixture and brushed it with a fingertip. She stood, opened her door, looked both ways. Nothing but carpet and wallpaper and the red exit sign whispering its neon breath. The elevator at the end of the hall sat with its doors closed, the floor display frozen on 14. When she stepped toward it, the panel changed, as if noticing her, rolling calmly down to LB, then going blank. Cool, she muttered, because saying anything felt like proof she still could. She pressed the call button, the relay clicked, the doors slid open. Empty car, mirrored walls, faint smell of machine oil and lemon cleaner. She stepped in and, before she could talk herself out of it, pressed L. The doors closed. The car hummed. The display lit with a floor Emma had never seen before. M, then M, then MEZ. Mezzanine. Their building didn't have a mezzanine. The car sighed to a stop and opened onto a space that felt like a memory of the lobby. Same marble pillars, same brass railings, except everything was smaller by a fraction, and the angles were wrong. The security desk was there, but the chair behind it was turned to face the wall. A thick cord ran from under the desk into a dark crack along the floor, as if the room had been plugged into something deeper. Not getting out, Emma told herself, thumb already mashing door close. Before the doors could meet, the elevator's speaker, dead since she moved in, crackled. "Please stand clear of the doors," a voice said. Not the building's announcement voice, not friendly, slow and careful, like someone speaking through teeth. The doors reopened against her will. On the mezzanine floor, something lay just beyond the threshold, a key ring. 4 keys on a braided loop, laminated tag with smudged ink, service. The urge to grab them hit like a reflex. She crouched, arm crossing the line between car and corridor. Her fingers closed around cold metal. The keys were warm when she yanked them back. The doors shut, the car lifted. Emma pressed 14. The panel ignored her. New letters scrolled up from nowhere. ROOF. No, she said, jabbing door open, 14L, anything. The buttons lit, but the car didn't care. It climbed with the steady confidence of something that had made up its mind. It stopped with a soft bump. The doors parted to reveal a slice of night. Wind pulled at her hair, smelling like wet rain tarp and old tar. Beyond the threshold was a roof, but not their roof. No HVAC units. No railings. Just black paper stretched to a low parapet and, a dozen yards away, an elevator shaft with doors welded shut and painted the color of dried blood. Between her and the other shaft, footprints tracked across the tar. Bare, human, set deep, like something heavier than it looked had walked there. They were fresh, glinting with rain. Emma lifted her hand to the panel, ready to send the car anywhere else. Every button had changed. No numbers, no letters, just polished circles reflecting her face. Her reflection blinked and kept her eyes closed a fraction too long. From the far shaft, metal squealed, bolts shearing, a skin being unzipped. The welded doors bulged outward as if something behind them had leaned to listen. Emma stabbed door close until her thumb hurt. The car hesitated, actually considered, then relented. The doors met, the car fell. When it stopped, the panel finally showed something familiar. L. She exhaled and braced herself for the lobby. The doors opened on floor 7. Not the 7th floor of her building, a hallway carpeted in a floral pattern she'd never seen. A painting of a lake that didn't exist hung crooked on the wall. Somewhere distant, a TV murmured a late-night infomercial in a language she almost recognized. The air smelled like someone else's dinner. On the threshold, her phone buzzed. No service. One notification. New floor added to favorites, 7. She didn't have favorites, the app didn't exist. A soft, patient ding sounded from down the hall, like another elevator greeting its guest. Emma pressed 14 with both hands. The doors slid shut with a politeness that felt like pity. The next morning, Emma told herself it had been a dream. She made coffee, opened her curtains, and tried to believe that the skyline outside was exactly the same as it had been yesterday. By noon, she'd convinced herself enough to leave for groceries. She avoided the elevator entirely, taking the stairs all the way down. Her legs ached by the 3rd flight, but the rhythm of footsteps was comforting. Until she heard other footsteps. Not above, not below. Right behind her. Emma froze mid-step. The stairwell echoed every sound, but these steps didn't match hers. They were half a beat late, heavier, barefoot. She turned quickly. Nothing, just the tall shadow of the railing cutting across the wall. She took the rest of the stairs 2 at a time. The lobby was alive with people, which should have calmed her, but the security desk was still empty. She looked toward the elevator bank just in time to see the middle car open. A man stepped out. He was tall, shoulders slightly hunched, wearing an old brown suit that looked damp. His face was pale, but the strange thing was his expression. It wasn't directed at anyone, like he was listening to something no one else could hear. And in his hand, the exact same set of service keys she'd found last night. Their eyes met. He smiled faintly, like he recognized her. Emma turned away, pretending to check her phone. When she glanced back, he was gone. The elevator doors stood open, waiting. She told herself she wouldn't, that she'd just walk past. But as she did, the panel inside caught her eye. It didn't have floors at all, just names. Mezzanine. Roof. 7. And at the bottom, one new addition, Emma. Her throat closed. She stepped back. The air from the elevator smelled faintly of wet paper and dust, just like the basement hall. Before the doors could close, a woman's voice whispered from the car's speaker. You left something behind. That night, she didn't leave her apartment. She locked her door, bolted it, slid the chain across, and sat in the dark with only the hum of her fridge for company. At exactly 2:59 a.m., she heard the elevator ding down the hall. At 3 o'clock, another ding, closer. At 3:01, the faint shhhk of doors sliding open directly outside her floor. At 3:02, footsteps, slow, barefoot. At 3:03, a knock on her door, 3 times. She didn't move, she didn't breathe. At 3:04, she looked through the peephole. The hallway outside was empty. She exhaled, then noticed something wrong. The peephole didn't show the carpet of her building. The pattern was floral, and against the far wall was a crooked painting of a lake. Floor 7. Somewhere in the distance, an elevator dinged again. This time, it came from inside her apartment. The sound came from the kitchen. It was impossible. There was no elevator in her apartment, no mechanical shafts, no doors, nothing. And yet, as she stepped toward the noise, she heard the quiet electric hum she'd come to recognize, the low vibration of cables under tension. The hum deepened, then stopped with a soft, final bump. Her fridge light flickered. The narrow wall to its right shimmered for a moment, like heat rising from asphalt. Then the plaster rippled. A thin vertical line appeared in the wall, splitting wider, metal panels pushing forward until they met. Elevator doors. Emma backed away, heart slamming against her ribs. The doors slid open. Inside was the same mirrored car she'd ridden before, except this time her reflection wasn't copying her movements. She raised her hand. It kept its arm down. It tilted its head, studying her with a slow smile. On the panel, only one option glowed: floor 0. Last stop, her reflection said without moving its lips. The voice came from everywhere. Emma should have run, but there was something magnetic about the open space inside, the faint scent of rain on hot metal. The service keys in her pocket felt heavier, warmer. She stepped in. The doors shut immediately. The car dropped, not smoothly, but in jolts, like something massive above was letting go in stages. No numbers appeared on the panel. Only her name pulsed in soft red: Emma. After what felt like too many seconds for any real building, the elevator stopped. The doors opened to a corridor, lined with numbered doors. The numbers weren't floor levels, they were dates. Each plaque had a month, a day, a year. Some were decades old, some were from last week. One door, at the very end, had tomorrow's dates. The handle turned on its own. The door creaked open. Inside was a dimly lit room with pale walls and a single hospital bed. On it lay Emma. Her, eyes closed, still. Tubes snaking into her arms, a monitor quietly beeping. Her reflection stood beside the bed, wearing her face but older, paler, lips pulled into that same faint smile. "You left something behind," it repeated, pointing to her own chest. Emma looked down. Her shirt was wet, warm. She pressed her hand there and felt a hollow space beneath her ribs. A slow, echoing thud that wasn't quite a heartbeat. Somewhere behind her, the elevator doors began to close. "If you miss this ride," the reflection whispered, "you'll never get your heart back." Emma stumbled backward into the car. The doors sealed her inside. The panel showed nothing at all now, just darkness. The hum returned, pulling her upward. But the air felt wrong, like she was rising through somewhere that didn't have floors. The elevator rose in silence. No ding for passing floors, no flicker of light. Just that deep hum, steady as a held breath. Emma clutched the service keys like a weapon, their metal biting into her palm. The mirrored walls showed nothing now. No reflection at all, just the faint shimmer of movement far behind the glass, like something was pacing there. Then the panel lit. Floor Emma. The car stopped. The doors opened onto her own apartment. Same couch, same unwashed mug on the coffee table. The city lights twinkled through the window. But she wasn't alone. On the couch sat the man in the brown suit. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, holding a heart in both hands, not bloody, not raw, perfectly preserved, like it had been sculpted from deep red glass. He smiled. "You left this in my elevator." Emma's chest burned. She could feel the absence, a cold space where something vital should be. "I've been carrying it for you," he said, standing slowly, "but the car has other passengers to collect now." Behind him, the elevator in her wall yawned open again. This time, the car wasn't empty. Inside stood every version of her reflection she'd seen. Some younger, some older, one with hair chopped short, another with eyes black as ink. They all stared, smiling in unison. The man stepped into the car, still holding her heart. "It knows you'll come looking." The doors began to close. Emma lunged forward, hand shooting into the narrowing gap, and felt nothing but cold marble. Her kitchen wall was solid again, the hum gone. The only sound was the faint creak of her apartment door opening behind her. She turned. Her reflection stood there, dripping rainwater onto the carpet. It reached into its coat pocket and pulled out the service keys. "You've been added to favorites," it whispered, tossing them at her feet. "See you at 311. The door shut. Somewhere deep inside the building, the elevator dinged once.